Welcome to session 6 of our class, week 3. Today's Wednesday, May 8th. Thank you for coming tonight. Tonight's going to be one of our more exciting times because we're now going to begin including interactivity into our assignment for this week. So, oops, that's the typo right there. It's just not Adobe Edge Animate, just Adobe Animate. Well, the learning coaches posted are ours, Misty. Tonight's agenda will be go over the overview and objectives, the reading and tools review. Make sure everybody's good on the code snippet library. I'm going to ask you a few questions just to see where you're at, understanding this. Assignment overview, and we'll begin getting into the assignment more. And I'd like to start working on each of your, help you start working on each of your interactions. So we'll use your assignments tonight to kind of do a live lab demonstration of adding interactivity, and then we'll go over the assessment. So this is the week. Last week we put assets together. This week we're now putting them in the timeline and beginning to do the interactivity. So we can do tweening, or we can have our program even do the animation for our promotional infographic. And we're talking more about the interface, both UX and UI, and then we're going to start the scripting, and we're going to talk more about the script library for this and future animated projects. This is our overall project. We went over this a couple nights ago, so these are the links in the classroom. Remember to distinguish between the project files that are created from ActionScript 3 compared to the ones created from HTML5 Canvas compared with the ones created with WebGL. WebGL is not, we're not going to be focusing a lot on at all. We just will mention it, but we won't get into it. But it is a library similar to the CreateJS library that Adobe Animate is integrated with. That one is 2D, 3D, whereas the CreateJS library has more diverse. It doesn't get into 2D or it doesn't get into 3D, but it does mostly the rest of JavaScript routines. The value of these libraries are taking advantage of code that's already written, and that's a big focus of this week. Creating our own code snippet libraries and basically taking advantage of work that we've already done or someone else has already done. And we have a little bit of a different attitude about using code that someone else has done, because I actually don't know why we have a different attitude. Because we talk about don't use someone else's graphics, and be careful about copying the text, too much text from a quote. You know, we're constantly concerned about that. But our attitude about code snippets is try to get what you can, customize it, because one of the things is in order to use code from somebody else's, even code snippets, you're really required to understand it in order to integrate it. That's probably the variable there. I didn't think I could come up with it, but a graphic, you know, as is doesn't take a lot of work, or text as is doesn't take a lot of work. But if you take someone else's code, or the code snippet library, and even what we're doing in the discussion where we're looking at tutorials and we're really building our code snippet library. It's like, okay, let me, that looks like good code. I'm going to put that aside, save it in the file, and yeah, the coding, it to use it, you'll probably be required to do a little customization in order to plug it in. So, so Eric made a statement: artwork or a quote is someone's talent or knowledge. But the fact is, codes are also someone's talent or knowledge. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, the codes actually can vary. Some of the function calls, but coding can vary also, the functions that are created. So it's a little bit. It's kind of. I was going to say it's not really apples and oranges, really. You know that there's big lawsuits about companies that are sued. In fact, Microsoft was sued for taking code and reverse engineering it and then using it in their own products. So it can get serious. When I say reverse engineer, I basically mean decompile it. They take binary code that's been compiled, they have a decompiler, and it goes from binary code back to source code, and it makes it so that somebody can customize it and then recompile it, but it's just a concern. You know, the copying of source coding language, programming code is just as serious as copying graphics and not attributing them. What's ironic is you've heard of the concept open source. Open source is where the developers have taken the liberty of giving a license, of giving and permitting people to copy their code. In fact, CreateJS, I would venture to say, might be considered open source. And so that's actually a different category. If the developer has created, is CreateJS open source? I don't know. If the person who created it, yep, there it is right there. Oh, look at that. How about that? I'd forgotten that it's right here. All the code is right here. Yeah, so it is open source. So open source means we give you the license to use it. And you have actually license. I think they may ask that you attribute to them the usage of it. So it's open source. That means they give you all the code. You don't have to decompile it or anything. It's just right there, ready to go. And I'll turn on my video just for a second here. And so with open source, you're not breaking their rule. It's, you know, people who create images and create text, there's also a type of a license that you can acquire. I kind of forget the wording of it, but it's where someone who's created an image and they put it out there so that, I forget, it's like the common something, but that they are giving people license to use their graphic, or they're giving people license to use their text. Open source is like a developer who's giving the license to individuals. Creative Commons, thanks. Yeah, Creative Commons, that's the term I was looking for images and anything that's created. Images, text, coding. So this here, by the way, just so you get what this is. This is where they give all the code and make it available to you on GitHub. We actually use GitHub at my work to house our code. And so what this is where CreateJS, all the libraries, in fact, this is really kind of a nice find for our discussion. Let me get to that. Let me get to our discussion here, and we'll come back to that. So we went over this Monday night, and here's our discussion. Okay, so many designers don't have the time or even the ability to write JavaScript code from scratch. Even developers that do know how to create functionality with JavaScript from scratch build a snippet library to refer back to for future projects. In this discussion, you'll research sites that provide snippets. We went over this on Monday night. In fact, we looked at tutorials that were even posted on the CreateJS website. You can use an infograph as well as future projects. Research sources for JavaScript code snippet tutorials, which we found that are not already in Animate, formerly actually Flash, and interface like Go-To and Play. So, so here, what I want to do is tell you that this is the repository of all the code and all the modules. Remember how we went to createjs.com, and here are the different modules here. And here you download. You can download the file as a separate JavaScript file, just the easel. Now see, there's GitHub right there. So this GitHub link will take you right to this place here. GitHub is the online repository for all their code. I forget what CDN stands for. It's Content Delivery Network is what that is, a CDN. So here you can just get a snapshot of the code, whereas here you can check it out. Same thing, download, CDN, copy. So we go to CDN. This is their Content Delivery Network. Okay. All right. So the CDN, remember how on Monday night we were looking at the in Animate, we looked at the output of, I think it was this one. When you publish, I want to help you understand this. When you publish your project, it will generate the files on your hard drive. I think this is on my desktop. And there it is right there. Let me see if it just did it. Yep, okay. So here's the project file. Okay, let me ask you this. Is this an ActionScript 3.0 project file, or is this an HTML5 Canvas project file? Which is it? Everybody answer. If you don't know, just put a question mark. If you're guessing, put your guess followed by a question mark. So again, the question is this project file, this is what it generated. Do you know the project type of this? Was it an ActionScript 3.0, or was it a Canvas, HTML5 Canvas document? Okay. Canvas, there it is right there. See that? So, Kendra, just so you know, there are two different types that we're working with. Yeah, that's right. Good, Eric. It generated both JavaScript and also what else did it generate? JavaScript and, right, good, very good, the HTML file. Excellent. Now, Kendra, so you understand, when you start off your project, you can choose any of these base project files. And we've been mainly talking about HTML5 Canvas. We also alluded to the ActionScript 3.0, which is the old, quote unquote, old project file that created Swift files, which require Adobe Flash Player, which is not available on mobile devices and is really kind of being phased out. It'll be interesting if they ever change the name of Adobe Flash Player to like Adobe Animate Player. That would be, just like they did with their with the program. This used to be Adobe Flash, and now it's called Adobe Animate. So that'll be interesting if they ever do that. But it is only for SWF files. So the way that you know that this came from HTML5 Canvas is because right here, create animation assets for HTML5 Canvas. Add interactivity to your assets through JavaScript in your frame script. So we look at the output here that was generated when we published, and there it is, HTML5 and JavaScript. Now, this HTML5 file is really kind of like the parent file. I say parent file because it includes this JavaScript file, but it also includes other things. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because what we were just looking at right here, the CDN, and see right here, this is the line that includes from that HTML file, it's saying go out to the website code.createjs.com and pull in this file. It's actually, this is just the easel.js module portion of it. And you remember what that means? That's the minimized. So what I want to do is show you how this all comes together. So I'm going to open and edit the HTML file. What program do you think I should use if I just want to edit this? This is a little bit more advanced because I'm really kind of taking you in underneath just so you get it. What's the program that you would use to edit? Yeah, very good, Eric. That's right, Shockwave file. So what program should I edit the HTML file with? This is just a skill that probably from your other HTML classes. What do you think I should use to edit an HTML file? What program if I wanted to edit it? Go ahead and answer. If you don't know, just put a question mark. In your classes that you've taken, what's the file, what's the program you use to create a website? It's an Adobe program. It's not Adobe Flash or Animate. It's, okay, you could do Muse. I'm just going to do Dreamweaver. So the reason I want to bring this up is just so you can kind of see what's going on underneath the hood. So this is the output. What program just generated this output? Tell me again, what program just generated this output that we're reading? That's right, Animate did. Okay, so Adobe Animate just generated it, and here it is. This is automatically generated, and I want you to look in there and tell me what line number is referencing the whole library of code like this. This is basically the content delivery network. That's how CreateJS has posted this file up on their website, and your program or your HTML file is going to go and get a copy of that and bring it down. So what line number is that happening on? Do you see what line number where it's saying this is an HTML file and it's saying I need to reference that file out there on that website? Do you have any idea? If you don't notice, put a question mark. It's where it's happening in the head, and it's the script tag is being used. So what's the line number in this code that's referencing the whole CreateJS library of functions? Do you know? Should I wait? Eric, you going to guess? I don't want to give you the answer. You're not going to guess. Okay. It's line number 16. So line number 16 says, hey, browser, go to this web page here and go grab that entire file and bring it into your system. So if you look at that line and you look at this line, they're very similar. The reason why they're similar, this one is slightly different. This one actually only gets the easel.js module. All right. So what I'm showing you is that Adobe Animate output is leveraging the entire library of CreateJS. It's leveraging it, meaning it goes out and grabs it, and then the rest of the output is going to, rest of the JavaScript that's going on is going to be making calls into the routines that it had brought down. All right, so back to the CreateJS here, and then the GitHub. So you have the ability to access this code snippet library completely from these files like this, or you can go to GitHub here, like we were looking at right here, and you can then download it from GitHub. This is how people, open source is run, because these are the different modules here, and being open source, they make it so that other people can say, hey, there's a bug in your program. There's a bug in your code, and I fixed it. If you want, that's what a new pull request would be. And then so the developer, the owner of this code, which is Grant Skinner, he says, oh yeah, that is a bug. And so it creates a community effort to manage this whole code snippet library, which is open source. And so the development of this whole library doesn't rest just upon these three individuals. These are the owners. This is the company that's developing the CreateJS, but because they make it open source, they allow people like you and me to check it out and make changes, make suggestions, maybe even make enhancements that they might go, yeah, we like that. We're going to add that. And it's all done for free, meaning I would fix the bug or I would add to the functionality. So back to the code snippet library here, what this discussion is talking about is getting parts of code that you can use and set aside in files. So we on Wednesday went over some of the tutorials. So how do you create a code snippet library? Well, for example, here we clicked on Getting Started. I went to createjs.com. I clicked on Getting Started here. And here's that page that we were looking at on Monday night. And it's got several short tutorials. There it talks about directly view the library, and that is the easel.js module. So if you click on that, you'll just be looking at the easel.js functions that are available to you. So scroll down and we'll see more and more and more examples. So how do you take advantage of this in adding to your own code snippet library? Well, you need to know just a little bit of what's going on here to build your code snippet library. You need to know that what I just showed you about the scripting and JavaScript and so on. The nice thing is, right down at the bottom, they put all the code. Show the code. There it all is. They don't have a separate script output file. If you look in the one that Adobe Animate generated here, oops, let's go back to Dreamweaver right here. This is the one that Adobe Animate generated. Yes, they are referencing the code snippet library right there, But they also included another file where they would be putting in your own custom functions that you created, your animation and so on. And that's accessible right here. Okay. Now, let's go back and come back to these examples. So, how do you start your code snippet library? Well, what you can do is just copy this code, and that will come in here. I'll create a new file, an HTML file, and I'm going to just select that and paste. So this is the code, the code that just came from that one code snippet. What I'm going to do is save it and make it begin to be part of my own code snippet library. So let's see. I'm going to put it, I've got my own GitHub folders here, and I've got one subfolder called IU classes, and I've got one here, and I've got samples here. What I think I'm going to do is create a new subfolder called library. Let's call it library, and create. And I'm going to call this code snippet that I'm using right here. This is going to be, I'm going to call this easel.js. Easel.js sample or something like that. So, easel.js. Let's see, maybe I can even call it by what it does. It's like a circle, something like that. And then I just create and click save. All right, so now I have one code snippet in my library. Let's do another here. I'll do, let's come down here and, excuse me 1 second. Come down here to this code snippet, tween.js. This is a tween that takes place according to the ticker. Remember the ticker? The ticker, that's, remember, it's a computer, like a computer clock that's taking place. And we'll click show code. Here it all is. We'll grab this, copy, and so let's call this one tween.js, or let's see, yeah, tween.js, and then this is like move circle, something like that. So I come over here, I'm going to create a new file here, click create, select, paste, do file, save as, and this one was tween.js move circle. Okay, and we can move on. We can get the sound one. So this one has is dependent upon a file that I don't have brought into my project. So we have to keep in mind that that's dependent upon. In fact, I might be able to download it from here. I just thought of that. Come over here, file, new. And so select it, paste, file, save as, and this would be like sound JS underscore thunder HTML, and save that. Now, one thing I'm pointing out, this is dependent upon another file here. This assets thunder.ogg. My guess is that is on their website. Let's see if it is in this location. CreateJS.com. Oh, so getting started, it's probably relative to that. Let's see if it's right there. Nope, that wasn't there. Trying to go get this sound file that might be on their website. Nope, that's not there either. Oh well, not sure where it is. See assets, thunder.ogg. Getting started. Huh, not sure. But there's the thunder sound. We'd have to download that. We currently don't have it. We see if we open this up on our local drive, where I've got this being built, we wouldn't be able to. Let's see. Around GitHub. Let me see if we open this up locally. I am not expecting that we're going to. Let's see. And the sound. See, play the sound. It's not there, and that's because I didn't download it. So we would have to have a different sound effect to add that. And I wasn't able to get it off their website. It's on their website somewhere. I thought it was relative to where this file was. And I thought that it would be in that subfolder, but it must be someplace else. So the preload function, loading an image, this is a good code snippet to have, especially if you have like a portfolio that you are wanting to scroll through. You can use those function calls. Let's see here. New HTML file, create, select, paste, files, save as. This one is called preload. Preload image. Click save. And that also is dependent upon a picture right there. See that? Loads the file. So we have to provide our own picture instead of that. And let's see what's left. Zoe, I'm not going to go into that one. That one is different, much different. So, so now we're the beginnings of our code snippet library. And what I do is I have it right on my hard drive, and I use GitHub. Also, the thing that we were just looking at a moment ago, here, GitHub, I actually have my own, and this is how I create my own library. So these are the repositories of code that I have, and the one that I am looking at on my hard drive now is the, well, that was my website. I gotta click here. Okay. So these are all the repositories of code. This is how I manage my own code snippet library. Just like this. IU classes. So this is the code repository. And looks like I am going to go into that area. I'm in Unix right now. and go to my IU classes. I just hit tab to complete it there. It is case sensitive. By the way, I'm running a program called Terminal that's available on your Mac. And so now I get into this folder. I go into my library. This is what I just now created for you. And here are the files that I added. Now, what I do is I actually save my changes. Git is the program we use to do this, and I add these to my library, and I commit them, and add a little comment, new little commit message. This is how you build a library, or this is how I build a library and keep track of it and put it in the cloud. It's on my Dropbox folder, but this way I put it up there, and anyone who's following me has access to these samples too. So it's kind of like a social community for code sharing. So you and I can share each other's code. I can follow you. GitHub is it's like a Facebook for code snippet library sharing, and so I have. And if you and it's free to set up an account. It's just like you just go there and set up your own personal account, and then you can search for other code repositories that you can follow people, or you can follow code repositories. And anytime they make changes, you can see the changes they've committed. And so I'm going to do a git push, and that's going to take what was on my local drive and push it up to the cloud in GitHub. And let's see if I can find it here. Okay, there it is right there. And there they are. So if you were following me, you would see these files that I uploaded, and just because I'm wanting to share what I find, then you could download these too. And you don't have to have a GitHub account to load them up to, but you do need a GitHub account in order to access them. So, and it's, like I said, it's free. So that's one way of keeping track of doing exactly what this is talking about here, of keeping track of building a code snippet library. So I'm curious, do you have any questions at this point about that? The way I do it is actually how the professionals do it. You don't have to do it like this. You can just put files on your hard drive. As you probably noticed, my files are also in my Dropbox folder. And so actually, my Dropbox folder is separate. This folder is here. Let's see, GitHub. And I think my Dropbox is separate. So Dropbox is also in the cloud. So there's Dropbox, and then I have GitHub. So I'm not putting, this is my GitHub library of code, whereas Dropbox is separate. So you can use either of those. Dropbox is one way of sharing files, but the way professionals share code snippet libraries is using GitHub. So, so this is my personal set of repositories that I share, and then this is my work. My work has shared with me theirs. Now, you know, if I subscribe to this GitHub one that we're looking at, or the CreateJS that we're looking at, and let's see, in GitHub, let's see, download, and then GitHub, we go right here. We've got these, and so these are the modules, and so if I wanted to subscribe to them, I'm currently watching this. So, each module is separate, up here. So this is the module of all the preload functions. This is the library of all, or module, they say library, of all the Easel.js ones. This is the library of all the Sound.js ones, and so on. And I'm quite sure I'm watching each of these. So if I click on this, it's yes. When it says unwatch, it means stop watching it. But if you click here, you see I'm watching it. What that means is I'm notified of all conversations. So when this is for free, I'm sitting here, I'm actually monitoring these libraries whenever somebody makes a change to anything or adds anything to it. Because I'm watching it, okay, so here I'm going to click watch because I wasn't watching it. So now I'm watching it. And what that does is GitHub is going to automatically notify me if they ever enhance anything, make changes, fix bugs, or so on. And this is all helpful when you're doing custom coding to keep track of this. So I'm going to watch this one too. So, oh, look at that, Adobe Animate demo. Now I'm going to watch this one. I think that's fairly new. And then a sandbox, demos, contains demos, helper class. I'm going to click watch on this. Host the combine and the tools for building it. Maybe I'll watch that one too. HTML5 ads. Watch that. Okay, so this, and then did the white paper on building HTML5 advertising with CreateJS and Flash Pro, now called Animate. Includes supporting materials, sample banner ad, and helper classes. So that's going to be a nice thing to have. If you want to get in the business of doing HTML5 ads using this tool. Easel.js renderers, runtime pluggable renderers for Easel.js. Look at that, they use WebGL. I'm going to watch that one too. Repo for collaboration. So here's Zoe. This is one. Well, this is interesting because I haven't gotten into Zoe much at all. See, that's ActionScript based. GitHub knows that that the files that are in there are a certain type of language. So this is for the ActionScript 3.0 project files. It's kind of nice they have a little README file. Whenever they have a README at the very top, it will display right here and give you some information about that. So now that I've subscribed to all those things, now I can come back to my local drive, my local computer, local system, and I'm going to go up to, let's see, I actually have GitHub here. So I'm going to do a git checkout CreateJS. Let me see if that, I don't know if this is going to work. Let's see. In fact, the way you get your code down is, here's CreateJS, and right for this module, for example, clone or download. This is it right here. Use git or checkout with SVN. Okay, so I'm going to copy that. And I'll show you how to check it out to your local drive. That way I can keep these files locally as well as be able to watch them online. So see, it's git. Actually, it's git clone is the command. There we go. Okay, so what this is doing is it's taking a copy of all the files in this repository and downloading them to this particular library. And now it's downloading it to my local drive. You don't have to do this unless you're going to want to change some of the code or make modifications. So, and then check it in. So, but just by monitoring them and watching it like I'm watching it, what happens is I actually get emails from them on a periodic basis. And when I'll show you an example of an email that I receive from GitHub. It's all automatic. And the email comes and says, so-and-so would like to make a change or a commit to this library. And I get an email from it. Let me show you an example of one. Just got one today. CreateJS. There's one. It was 2 days ago. So here's an example of what I get. I get notified when there's a question. Here's another one. Here they're basically having a conversation about either technical problems that they're running into or concerns they have. You can see CreateJS is the large library, and then EaselJS is the sub-repository. See, that's preload. Here's EaselJS, preload. And it has a link that goes right to the issue. And so here's the conversation that's taking place regarding this. And it's considered an issue. And they can talk right here, and they give examples of the code and so on. And then they close it, and it goes away. It's no longer open. Hi, Melissa. Okay, Kendra. So this, so this is what, Melissa, what we've been talking about is how professionals manage their code snippet libraries. And I've gone into a discussion about how CreateJS, the company CreateJS, makes their code available to us, and you can download it. I also showed examples of how the samples that we use were actually referencing the Content Delivery Network, or the CDN, to pull the files in. So this is a way where you don't need to download it locally. They just provide it there on their website, and you reference it. And this is really what, in our sample that we created, this is how, I'll come back to the source code right here. This is how Adobe Animate references the code snippets library, the code library. Yet in its output file, the HTML file, it references the entire, this is the entire library, whereas some of these others only have like portions. This is that's the CreateJS, that's the full one right there. And then the tween.js, oh, that one's also going after the full one. Each of these go for the full library. The date here is just the release of the library. The min means the minimized version of it. So this is the beginning of our code snippet library. All right, so now what I want to do is, are there any more questions about the discussion? If you remember on Monday night, I posted a linked site, createjs.com, tutorials, and then here are several tutorials. We just went through all the ones in getting started. Here's some other sample tutorials on that website that you can use as part of the the discussion tonight. All right, so it's 7:59. I think it's time for a break. If you like, Melissa, why don't you stay here? Unless, yeah, you know, you probably okay. During the break, I can help you get caught up, Melissa, to where we are, and that way we can take advantage of that time so you're caught up. So let's go ahead and I'll just review what we went over and answer any questions. So let's have a 10-minute break. Eric and Kendra, just let me know when you're back. And so, Melissa, can you turn on your microphone? I'd like to ask you a couple questions. Is that okay?
Sure.
Awesome. Okay. So, what we've been working on is these code snippets. So let me ask you a couple questions to see where you're at on your understanding. So we created a Flash file, and then we published that Flash file. This is the output right here and here from that Flash file. The question I asked everybody is, what was the file format that we used when we created this original Flash file? Based upon what you see is being generated here, what would you say is the file format? Do you know? If you don't know, just say, I don't know, or you can guess.
The file format?
Yeah. In other words, when we did this, we did File, New. Which of these did we choose? Do you know?
The HTML5 canvas?
That's right. That was one of the questions. And how do you know that? Because that...
Are you asking?
What?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Just because it says HTML5.
Awesome.
Or
Okay.
HTML, it doesn't say 5. But.
All right. And so if we had created this one, do you know what the published output would be?
I assume it would be ActionScript, but I've never published one in that, so I don't really know.
Okay, so you may have done it. Oh, you may not have done it yet in your Adobe Flash other classes. It's SWF.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we did do that, actually. We had to send it out 3 different ways at the end when we were done.
Okay,
I actually did more than that. But.
Oh, okay. All right, so that was one of the questions we had. And then, so what is the name of the library of code that Adobe Animate is using? Do you know?
The JavaScript?
Yes. What is the library that Adobe Animate is using? It is written in JavaScript, but do you know the name of that full library of code?
No.
Okay. That's called CreateJS.
Okay.
This is the library that they, and this is open source code, and anyone can use it. And so Adobe Animate has included this, and that's why in their output they're referencing it right there, and they're referencing it right there. So Adobe Animate is taking advantage of that open source code from CreateJS. Now, these are really good places to come to know how to add some custom animation or custom coding. You click on the module. This is like a sub-library within the larger library. This one's called the Easel.js module or library. You click on Docs. It has a list of these are actually classes. So this is really a class library. And so you ask the question, well, how does the industry organize all the code that it shares? Well, it organizes it in the form of a hierarchical relationship of classes. And so so each of these are classes here, and they are interrelated, almost like a parent and child. So if we click on Sprite, we'll see it extends. And so the Sprite class has what is called a constructor, where it gets created. And then it has all these methods here. And these are function calls that you can make with the Sprite. And then it's got properties, and this is information associated with that. But what's interesting is up here, events are events that it can respond to. Back here, Sprite class extends display object. So if you look, there's display object in the list. When it says it extends, it means it's like a child of. It's like my child when I have a child, and let's say I have one child, and or for that matter, maybe all my children. Each child inherits a portion. Well, I probably should go with the analogy of just one child. So if I had one child, he or she would inherit everything that I was and could do. It could do all the information about myself, all the things that I could do, and that's what this is. So a sprite can do everything that a display object can do because it inherited everything. So as you get deeper and deeper into this hierarchy of classes, they get more and more complex because they are like bringing baggage with them. That's kind of it's kind of derogatory, but they are bringing so much capability with them as they are inherited. And so, so the display object is also a child class, and it's a child class of event dispatcher. And so this is kind of like a parent class, this event dispatcher class right here. So this whole library is organized in a hierarchy of classes. There's easel.js. And the behaviors that you use, you first have to instantiate in your for example, in the code here, in these code snippets that we were looking at. Actually, I brought up the wrong one. I brought up Dreamweaver to view the output code because Adobe Animate doesn't let us view the output code. So here in the JavaScript, what's going on here is we are instantiating, this right here is instantiating, for example, new stage. And so let's go find the stage class. And let's go find it here. See it right here? This is what we're doing. In that example, so the word instantiate means it's kind of like taking a press. For example, let's say we were making coins, and or no, I can think of a better. I have a better idea. Let's say we had we designed houses, and we had like 5 standard house plans. Well, if we wanted to create an offshoot of one of those plans, we'd make a photocopy of the master plan, and then we would make our changes. That's kind of similar to how this works, where we would instantiate, or in other words, make a photocopy of the master plan, and then make the changes. So instantiating an object stage here is, we reference it because that's the name of the library, .stage, and there's the name of the class right there. And if we're doing just the class itself, this is called a constructor, and that's why they have the word constructor here. Constructor means this is how you make it happen. create it, like birth it, bring it from scratch. It's a constructor. And the reason why we know it's a constructor is because right here is the name of the class. So if we're using the name of the class, that means we want to create it. And the word new is also a key word there. And so in these examples that we downloaded, and I actually downloaded each of the examples and I created separate files for them. So here you can see new, CreateJS, that's the name of the library, dot stage, that's how we reference the class. And then there's the name of the demo canvas, and that's we're actually referring to it down here. And here we have another, so here we instantiate the stage. Here we instantiate, what do you think is the name of the class? This is kind of a tough question here. What's the name of the class that we're instantiating on line 7? So let me go back up. The name of the class that we're instantiating on, and this is the list of classes right here. So here in this example, the name of the class that we're instantiating on line 6 is stage, the stage class.
Mm-hmm.
So
this one, 7, would be shape?
That's right. That's exactly right. We are now creating a shape. And we're literally, it's like poof. That's how we do it. This is like making it happen on our stage. As it's actually making it happen in the back room. We haven't yet brought it onto the stage because the stage doesn't get updated until line 12. So yes, we first create our stage. We associate it with the canvas, which is out in the HTML document with its ID. So this actually has a parameter. For this constructor, it has a parameter, and the parameter is the name of the canvas stage that we want to associate our stage with. Here we have a constructor, which is called shape, and we're creating a shape class, an instance, and there are no parameters here. There's nothing inside there, so it's actually called the default constructor. We didn't need to pass in anything. And if you look at the here's the constructor, and here's the stage. Let's go look at the shape. Let's go look at the shape class right here, and let's see. So you can go directly to graphics and create a graphics class, and then pass graphics in to the constructor. So that's a slightly different one. See, it says alternatively, you can also use the graphics property of the shape class to render the same as above. So here, no property being no parameters being passed here. So here's the shape constructor. That is an optional parameter. And so as you can see in our example here, we're not passing any parameters. So we're just taking the default. And so now when we do this, we have to put it somewhere. And so this whole thing runs, and we kind of have to put it in a container or a bucket or a variable. And we can name this whatever we want. And in this case, we just name it stage, just because it kind of coincides with the fact that this happens to be a stage. But we could call this, anything from magnificent to whatever. We call it stage just because it helps us remember. Same thing here. We just came up with the word variable circle. So, but it's just really just a shape. But eventually it's going to become a circle, because on line number 8, we now call this, because it's a shape, it has graphics associated with it. And then this is a function, begin fill. So let's go back here, and you see right here, see where it says graphics? They're passed in a shape. Let's come over here to the graphics class, because this is how we look it up in the library. You say, okay, what can you do with graphics? Well, you can, there we go. This is what graphics can do. You come down here and down to the bottom and right here. These are all the graphic methods, meaning these are the things that graphics can do, each of these functions. And properties, this is all the information graphics can have. Now, these aren't functions. These are just pieces of information. So back at our example here, we have graphics.beginFill. Now that happens to be a function. That's not a property because it's got parentheses after it. So we come back here, and there it is, begin fill. So it happens to be a method because it's got those parentheses. We come down here to begin fill, begin fill, begin fill. I'll just search for I'm really close. I already just passed it. Begin linear. There it is right here. So this is a behavior or a function. And so it looks like it takes a parameter of color. So we look back here, come back here, and sure enough, there's our parameter, color, blue. I wonder if we changed it to something else. I wonder if it was just blue, if it would be something different. Yeah, it did. How about red? Click over there, and it updates. So this thing, begin fill, let's see, where is it? Takes a color. You can even do, like one of these, you know, RGB, hex things. Let's change it from there to, it's probably got to be quoted. And let's go something like AA33. That's an RGB number. Have you ever worked with those before?
Yes.
So there's the FFAA33. So, so back here, we've got this begin fill, and that is the graphic. So I'll backtrack a little bit here. Let's go back to where we were. So we start off with the shape and come back here. This is the shape. And right here, it receives graphics. And so then we go look up what's a graphic. Well, graphics class. Well, here's a graphics class. Okay, got it to graphics class. Okay, so now what kind of things does graphics class do? Well, begin fill is one. And so, by the way, you see that arc too? That's like draw an arc too. So it comes down here, begin fill, and there it is right there. And it is a color that's getting passed in. Let's go see if color is a class. No, it's not a class. I thought we might see just color in there. Begin fill. Color. Parameters, color string. It's just a string. It's not a class. Being a string means it's not a class. It's just a piece of information. It's almost like a property, frankly, because when you're dealing with classes, that's more complex. I mean, a class is like it's got a lot of information, a lot of different attributes about it, and it's got a lot of behaviors about it. Just another analogy of what a class is. For example, I am from the class human, hopefully, and when you instantiate me, you know, when I'm born, I became instantiated. So as a human, as from the class human, I can do things. I can run, and this is kind of like my behaviors. That's the analogous to the methods or behaviors of functions right here. These are things that I can do. Right here, methods. So methods is another word for behaviors or actions or functions. So I can run, I can talk, I can negotiate. You know, these are all verbs. Typically, methods tend to be verbs. Here's the verb append. You know, these are things that this thing can do. A human can do. Now, properties, on the other hand, would be I have a name. It's Chip. I have an age. It's guess. I have a height. I have a width. Circumference. You know, I've got eye color. You know, these are all pieces of information. That's what properties are. So there's a differentiation between a property of a class, you know, the class human, and then methods. Now, so if you have a hierarchy of classes, you know, obviously the class human, I could probably potentially, depending on how I've got all of these classes organized, you know, a human I could perhaps create a class called American. And as an American, I don't know if this is a good example, but it would inherit human. So everything that a human is, an American is, plus more. For example, political party or religion, or I don't know. These aren't great examples, but as you can see, you can create this hierarchy of classes. That's exactly what's going on here with CreateJS. It's a whole list right here. You can't see the interrelationships between these classes until you go into them, and then you can start seeing how they break down. And because, like we said, a sprite, it extends. It's a child class of a display object, which is a child class. In other words, it extends the event dispatcher. And remember, as it inherits it, if it's a child class, it inherits all the capabilities, all the functions, and all the methods and all the properties of its parents. Just kind of come with it. It's almost like you're bringing it, like putting it in luggage, and and it goes all the way up to the very top. I've inherited all the functions, and if at any level of class, if it has the same name of a method, it actually will override a higher up, the functionality of a higher up one. So if it has the same exact name. So that's how this library is all built. And that's how you can really understand the code of what's going on here. Now, so the begin fill, so the circle, that's the name of the shape. Graphics is that the shape has graphics, and then graphics have a method called begin fill, and this is the function that we called into it. Now, we have a draw circle here, and I'm pretty sure that that is a directly related to the shape. So I think the draw circle may be a shape method. So let's go just check. Okay. Let me try. I want to know what circle. Yeah, there it is. The graphics class also includes a tiny API. API stands for Application Programming Interface. So remember how back in this code, we know that we're talking about graphics here. And so that's the class that a shape has graphics, and graphics has this tiny API, and this draw circle is one of them. So right here, the graphics class also includes a tiny API, or an application programming interface, which means it's a bunch of methods that are just tied to this, which is 1 or 2 letter methods. These are the shorthand. There are shortcuts for all of the graphics methods, and these methods are great for creating compact instructions, and is used by the toolkit for CreateJS to generate readable code. All tiny methods are marked as protected, so you can view them by enabling protected descriptions in the doc. So this draw circle can be shorthanded with just DC, for example. If we click draw circle, now we come down. This is what I was searching for a minute ago. I wanted to see the entry of the method here. And so this is the method that we're calling in this example right here, this draw circle. There's 3 parameters to it, and X, Y, and radius. So X and Y, the relative 0, 0 upper left, so the location where it's created, and then the radius is how many pixels wide it is. So here you can see an example of generating the graphics, and here, so G, here's a tough question. What class is G an instance of? Everybody answer.
Graphics.
That's right. If we want to know what G can do, go see what graphics class can do. And it can do all those things, and it will have all those properties. So one of the things in order to do what it, oh, Eric, are you back? I meant to ask a few minutes ago. I've been watching the chat for you to say I'm back. I assume you're here. You might be distracted. So one of the functions, one of the methods, looking at this code right there, can you give me an example of a method of graphics? So go ahead. I can. You're Melissa. You got your mic is on, which is good. I just want to ask you, looking at this code, give me an example of a. Okay, no worries, Eric. I'm just glad you're there. Give me an example of a method that is being called, a graphics method that's being called. Can you think of one? Can you see one?
Is it all those things underneath, the fill and the draw circle?
Yep, that's one example of a method. Set stroke style. And this is an example of a method call. Begin stroke. This is an example of a method call. That's an example of a method call. Anything in parentheses is what are called parameters. So we pass a 1. We set the stroke style to 1. And here we do begin stroke. And we pass in this whole thing to a stroke. CreateJS.graphics.getRGB000. So that's black for the stroke. And then the fill is going to be CreateJS getRGB255. So let's grab this code here from the code library. And let's come over to one of our examples here. And let's now take this example and let's paste in this code that we just took. Now, I'll format it so it looks kind of nice. So what takes place?
So this is what we need to do for our assignment, write code for everything?
Oh, this is very similar. This coding is what you will be putting, you can be putting right into your code. And I'm going to stop with this example. We're going to go over into Adobe Animate because I'm actually tweaking the sample output file. So here in a minute, we'll do the same thing with Adobe Animate. So okay. I want to do it here, and then we'll go do it in adding JavaScript to Adobe Animate. So, so right here, oops. All right. So here we have a stage. We create a circle. We add the child to the circle. So this right here. I put // because that's comments. Now we have another, so that's the circle here. Now we're going to come up with a different thing. This is why I just copied and pasted into here. And we first have to create our graphics information, and then we associate graphics with the shape. So we instantiate a graphics here. We set the stroke style. We can do begin stroke in black, and then begin the fill. RGB, so that's red right there. Draw the circle. So 0, 0, 3. I'm going to do 8. See that right there? So this is the radius. Okay. So RGB, so that's red. That's why it's red. 0, 0 GB, 0 green, 0 blue. Then we instantiated the shape, and we specify that it's at 100 and 100. So this is setting up the graphics, and we take that G and we pass it right there as a parameter into the shape. We set the stroke style. We begin the stroke in black. We begin the fill in red. So see the black around there?
Yes.
And then the red is this red right there. If we want, we can change it to all green by putting, see, I just changed, see, that's RGB. Okay, do you understand how that works? From 0
Yeah.
to 255? Okay. That's kind of like the hexadecimal, but we're breaking up into 3 different tuplets there. When we draw the circle, this is the location of it, 0, 0, 12. Now, the reason why this is actually putting it up here in the upper left corner when we write it, but because we haven't yet added it to the stage, we don't see line 19 happening because it's like shut off. We don't see it. But figuratively, it's being built up here, 0, 0 with 12. So this circle is actually up here until what line number? What line number places that circle someplace else? Do you know?
22 and 23.
That's exactly right. And that point brings it down to here. And then, let me just delete this line because it's redundant there. We had another one. Then we associate the thing that we're building. It's kind of like we build this underneath the hood or in the back room. Nobody knows we're doing this until line 25 is when we bring out our creation. We bring it out and we say stage, and this is still actually happening in the back room. It's kind of like you're building this on this one table, and the stage is is like, let's say you got the curtain. The curtain is down, and nobody knows what's going on the stage. So the curtain's down, and we're assembling things while the curtain's down. Everybody out in the audience doesn't see what we're doing, and we're working away. We build our circle. We first build our graphics, then we associate with the circle shape. So that's the graphics and the shape. Up here, we just went right for the shape. We didn't even worry about the graphics. And because we didn't even pass that in. So this one, we create the shape, and then we kind of dynamically do something a little bit different. So these are 2 different ways to build something. So here we're building the big orange circle, and we run over onto the stage, and we say, okay, let's move this right here on 100, 100, put it right here. And we run back to our table, and we say, let's build another graphic thing, and then we associate class, an instance of graphic, and then we associate it with the shape, and we say, okay, put that right here in the same location. We run over there, put it there, and when we go over there and put it there, that's what we're doing with the add child. We're kind of like putting it right there on the stage. But the curtain is still down. Nobody sees this yet until line number 27, and that's when they raise the curtain. And so they raise the curtain, and they see our circles sitting at 100, 100. So how did that explanation work for you?
I got it.
Awesome.
I think that worked well.
Good. All right. Awesome. That's what's going on. We put down the curtain. we do our work on the graphics. We then take, again, this is doing it two different ways of doing about the same thing. Here we go the extra effort of putting our graphics together with all these calls, and then we pass that thing that's already kind of cooked, and we pass it to the shape, and the shape says, oh yeah, I know exactly what you need me to do. And it does that, and then it moves it. So if we did 100, 100 right here, I'll bet you that I can just, it's like I'm building it out there on the stage right at the place that I want it to go. And down here, what I'm going to say is, no, I've already got that taken care of. So let's see. I'm going to click here, and I've essentially accomplished the same thing. The / comments it out as if it's not even there. I could literally delete these, and it's the same thing. So, so here, what I did is I actually built it right at 100, 100. So that way, when it gets down here and I pass this graphic thing that I worked on and pass it to the shape, it knows right where it was built. It says, oh yeah, you already placed it there. And the shape doesn't have to do any moving because this graphic thing that I built right at 0, 100, 100, and I built it a radius of 12. We could make this, let's see, what's the radius of our other one? Let's see, radius of our other one is 50, so let's go 40 on this one. So if you click over here, now this guy, the orange one, there's our orange color right there. The orange one is 50 pixels wide, but the one that I created down here on line 19, that was actually just 40 wide. Let's see if I can get rid of the stroke. I'm going to get rid of, I think, the black ring. I'm going to comment that out. You don't need it. I'm going to just comment those two stroke things out so we just have a circle. See that? I got rid of the black ring just by commenting that out. All right, so now you kind of get a little bit of feel. This is all JavaScript. And this is the skill that is so valuable right now in the marketplace. Just while we take a little breather of all that code, I'm going to show you how valuable this skill is, just so you know. JavaScript. What I just explained to you, in fact, the concept that I just explained to you about that whole library and the classes and methods, and I got to tell you, that's very advanced, what I explained to you. And getting this object-oriented library, how this is all organized, how the methods, how you find out what methods you can do, how you can find out what properties are there. It's all very, very advanced. So I'm just glad that you're getting it. And Kendra, I hope you're doing okay. Eric, I hope you're doing fine. Let's see. I want to do salaries. So so that's what it's worth right there. And it's growing. So 4 years ago, someone who can do what I just showed you is worth, on the average, $99,000 on the marketplace. So let's see, JavaScript, senior JavaScript, let's see a junior, is there any junior? There it is right there, right here. That's how much you could be worth right there out of the market, right when you go out. A junior JavaScript UI developer, that means somebody who might have between 0 and 3 years experience. That's a junior, and that's how much you're worth. And look, over the past 4 years, it's gone up a third. These salaries have gone up by 33% in just 4 years. So that's about, let's see, 8% per year. So that's pretty great. That's like getting an 8% raise each year. If you get working at a place and then move from there to other places, typically you can get 8 to 10% more each time you move. And so, so that's the good news. That's why this is so valuable to you. this being a JavaScript developer rather than ActionScript. Let's see what ActionScript will show us here. We'll add a comparison to ActionScript. See what's going on with the ActionScript skill? It's leveled out. It kind of, well, yeah, it's like it's going back to where it was. I'll stop my video. So you can see we're teaching you JavaScript, and ActionScript is kind of going by the wayside. See, ActionScript on the average 83,000, JavaScript on the average 99,000. That's if for your whole career, potentially what you would be earning. It's what I would guess. Let's see. So now, let's see. There's this trends of salary, and now I wanted to get back to the conversation. That's all this is, JavaScript, and the fact that you now know how to go into a library and do what we just did. That's an exceptional ability. Even junior developers really wouldn't be expected to do what we just did. And you did it very well, I think. So let me stop for a second and ask Eric. Eric, has this been good for you to follow along? All right, okay. All right, now we're going to switch gears, go into our assignment. And what I'd like to do is have you share your screen, and let's start working. Oh, wait a minute. I want to first show you how this works with Adobe Animate. Now we've just edited the JavaScript as it came out from Adobe Animate, and then we edited it. But this can't be brought back in, from our samples here, can't be brought back into, like if we edited this HTML output here, Adobe Animate won't bring it back in. So that's why we have to do it inside our code, inside Adobe Animate. So let me give you an example of a very simple animation of an object. And I'll create an object. So here, convert it to a symbol. Look at our library, created that there. So it's an instance of that item in our library. We'll call this circle 1. So I created the movie clip in our library, and now this is an instance. Now if we dragged it out and brought another one, then we would have a second instance. But we'll just leave the 1 on there. So the property is circle 1. And now it's a movie clip. Now let's take the window and code snippets and actions. And it's got selected. Click here for code snippets, HTML5 canvas, animation. Let's say move horizontally. Okay, so here we have, remember the this, that's kind of like it's referring to the whole kit and caboodle. Remember how we talked about instantiating classes? Well, there's the system instantiates something. It's kind of like it instantiates CreateJS with the variable name this. And so in the same example, like in our examples over here, how we instantiate stage we have one that instantiates the whole system and calls it this. So this is the variable that refers to like the whole kit and caboodle. Now, it then references the name of an instance within it. And so because circle 1 is an object within it, it's the same type of thing that's going on here, where in our examples, how we have the circle here, and it has a property here. So it's called circle inside our variables here. But here, the instance is referred to as circle 1 because this is like what we get when we do this. Now, here on line 8, we are programmatically creating a circle. In other words, a human being didn't do what I did here, where I grabbed the tool and I created this. This here is the program creating the circle, and the program, JavaScript, is going to refer to it as circle. Same thing's going on here in our code, and this program is going to refer to it as circle 1. That's its name. So it's as though we had a line 8 with as though it were circle 1. That's kind of what's going, that's really what's going on here, because, but you don't see it all happening because we haven't yet generated all the code that's going to come from this, but you can see this dot circle 1 is very similar to us referencing this circle here. So within, this is JavaScript going on in here. We're only going to see it within this context. We just see a glimpse into the code. Here we see the whole thing, and we're going to see the whole thing when we output it like this here in just a minute. So this is the call here, and what this is take that X location, that's just the same as this X location in this example right here, or here. Same thing.
How come it doesn't have a Y?
It doesn't have to, because this example, this code snippet is...
Oh, it's going to move, so the Y will be changing.
The Y won't be changing in this example. That would be a different function call. So, so here you've got that. So the different function call would be, so this is just moving from left to right. So it's basically saying, take what you've got in your X value and add to it, that's what plus equals means, 100. This is actually, can be rewritten like this. That plus equals can be rewritten like this. So take your value and take what you've got and then add 100 to it and then store it back in yourself. So that's another way of writing this. This does the same thing. It's kind of a shorthand notation. So this says move yourself 100 pixels to the right. That's it. So file, save, control, test movie, browser, and there it did it. Now we didn't move we only moved the fill. So if we now look at the file, in fact, what I'll do is I'll come back to this example. I'll do file, save as, sample2fa, desktop. Place it, and then file, publish. Then we go out there and open it up. In fact, I think I can just open it. It's already opened in here. It got reloaded. Okay, so here is the new output file. And remember how I said it's going to put in this other file the sample code that we create? We go over there to the sample code, and in here we'll find, there's our code. So this code on line 57 is this code right there. It's the correlation between the two. So what it put all this surrounding stuff out in here, it finds right. We're only being exposed to that one line number. We don't need to worry about anything else, and it put it right there. So circle 1 is what got created. And this is a call. And see, there it is right there. See line 64? This dot circle 1 equals new live circle. That's just like this right here. Well, it's actually calling the circle class. That's the circle class that's found in the library. It sets a transform, another function call, and so on. So it does all this for us. It generated all that. Now let's do the same thing. This time, instead of moving to the right, let's now select it. And do a code snippet, and let's move it. Animation, we'll move it vertically. So here, we're just tweaking the Y value. So if we move the X value 100 to the right, we move the Y value 100 to the down, and so it's going to go diagonally down the lower right. Let's see, save it. File, publish. Come back here, reload it, and now we've got move to the right and move down. There they all are. And if we go look at our file here, press refresh, there it is. It moved to the right 100 and moved down 100. So let's see, what else do I want to show you? Rotate once. This will rotate 45 degrees. So it'll move right, move down, and rotate 45. Save that. File, publish. I won't even check it in the HTML. I just come over here and press. Why do I have to press refresh? It's because I published the file and the browser doesn't know I published it. So I have to press refresh. And there it is. It did a 45-degree angle turn. And back to this here. So we've got move horizontally, move vertically, rotate continuously. We can do that. Select it. First select it, rotate continuously. Okay, so now it's going to do, watch this. This is the tick event listener, and so now it's going to rotate every tick. How many degrees is it going to rotate? It's going to rotate 10 degrees every time. I'm going to do a publish, come back here. Now, watch, it'll start, and now start rotating. So it moved to the right, moved down, turned 45 degrees, and then began rotating. All right, so let's do, okay, so we rotate continuously, animate horizontally. Okay, so this now, and we're doing these in sequence. So each time I do this, it's adding to it. Save this, publish it. Come over here, do a refresh. Now it's going to start moving to the right. See that?
And right off the stage.
Yeah. So it moved and moved and right off the stage, rolled right off. So that could be like a ball rolling. Let's see here. Animate vertically. So roll off the stage, it'll roll diagonally down now. All right, so let's do a, okay, wait a minute now. Right here. File, publish. Come over to the browser, press refresh. There it went diagonally down because it was diagonally going to the right and diagonally going down at the same time at the same rate, so that's why I went diagonally. This time I'm going to make it go a little slower. Rather than 10